Hey guys, welcome back down to the shop, and today we got a fun six-pack project for you. So today we're going to be building a, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what these are called, some type of wall art, but these things are crazy popular right now. You can find them all over the place on Pinterest and Etsy. And looking at the prices of these things, oh my god. So I'm going to show you how to make one of these things for about 10, 20 bucks, and maybe 30, depending on what type of beer you're drinking. So let's crack one of these open and get started. To start off on this project, all you gotta do is go down to your local hardware store and get yourself some plywood. I went ahead with a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and one that's pretty smooth because you don't want super rough edges, because you are gonna be gluing things on here, and you want a nice smooth surface, so that glue does have something to hold on to. I think I got this piece for about $10. You can buy plywood this size for cheaper, but it's gonna be a lot thinner. We want this background to be pretty solid, because our pieces up front are gonna be locking together like my address sign that I did, which was also another super fun six-pack project. So if you guys want to, go ahead and check that out. But I think I got it way too long. This is a 2x4 piece, and yeah, if you want to, you can go ahead and make one this big. This size is a little bit ridiculous. Again, all this stuff is completely custom. You can go ahead and do whatever size you want. I wanted something bigger than a 2x1, and there wasn't really a size in between, so I just went ahead and got this. But it's easy enough to rip it down. And just in case you guys are wondering, this is 18 by 36 inches. I just think this looks a heck of a lot better on your wall than that giant 2x4 foot one. I mean, that would be huge. But anyways, now that we got our plywood ready, let's get our other materials. First material you're gonna wanna grab, 6-pack of beer. And a 12-pack if you're
I'm a trained professional.
I mean, so let's just crack this open right away. That's a good beer. Next, we're gonna have to go ahead and grab our material that's gonna be going onto the top of the plywood. What I'm going ahead and grabbing is about 1/4 inch by, I think these are 3-inch trim pieces. As you can see, I just have a lot of it. This is such a good project to use a bunch of your scrap wood. So since I got them, I'm gonna use them. But if you watched my address sign video, you know I got a lot of this wood for free.
For free!
But the only problem is that it came with a varnish already on it. I already went ahead and planed the top side of this, but honestly, these things are still 3/4 of an inch. I don't need this whole thing to be 3/4 of an inch, otherwise the sign's gonna end up weighing quite a bit. So I'm gonna run this through the planer a couple more times just to kind of thin this out, and hopefully that'll help reduce the weight of this whole sign. But for the edges here, I'm just gonna run them through the joiner, and that's gonna give me some fresh new wood. So all I'm gonna be doing is turning this nasty stuff right into pieces like this. But I'm not gonna be a big fan of all of these pieces being the exact same size. So I got these pieces cut down to 2.5 inches in width. I'm gonna run just probably a handful of these, this many. Yeah. I'm gonna run them back through the table saw. I'm gonna set it at a 1-inch thick cut. That way I'm gonna have some 1-inch pieces, 1.5 inch pieces, and my original 2.5. This is gonna give my wall art a little artsy fartsy look. I don't know. Hopefully when I'm editing I could find the word for it. So I can't really tell you the easiest way to start this, mostly because I've just never done one before, but there might not be an easiest way to start this. So I'm just gonna start by doing some quick prep work. I know that I want my project to have 4 sections to it, so I'm gonna go ahead and lay that out, dividing my board up into those 4 sections. So what I'm gonna end up doing is just cutting a 45 on one of these pieces, putting that 45-degree angle on my line, and then just from that piece, I'm just gonna go from there and just kind of building on top of that. But just remember when we're cutting these things out, you don't have to be super precise. That 45-degree angle on your line has to be correct, but on the outer edge, we're just gonna go through with a circular saw and cut that off straight. So I'm just kind of marking lines about where I should cut it. If I'm over, it's definitely not a big deal. So when you are marking these out, make sure you're going over the plywood and giving yourself some extra so we can cut that off and make it completely straight later. And since this is my starting point, it's probably a good idea to clamp these down to make sure that these don't move. And from here, it's just time to build on the layers. Whew. All right, that's one side done. I think it's time for another beer, and we're gonna tackle this next side. Okay, so we got all our pieces cut out and laid out, and it's looking pretty good. We got a lot of nice tight seams in here, but even if you do have a little bit of gaps, once you get this painted and stained up, you're really not gonna be able to see that, so don't worry too much. Don't be too hard on yourself if there is a little bit of gap. So next part is to actually get some paint or stain on this thing. And with there being just a million different types of styles on these things, I mean, honestly, what you could do is just go ahead and put a blindfold on, go up to your paint and stain cabinets, and just start grabbing stuff. And even if you pick just a bunch of wonky colors, I still think that you'll come up with something that will look pretty cool. And as for picking what pieces get what color, I think the same method applies. Just put your blindfold on and guess. So the colors that I just blindly picked out, I got a chalk paint right here, got a huge gallon of black paint, and then I just picked out 2 stains pretty much at random. One is a weathered oak, and then the other one is early American. You guys watch my videos, you know early American is one of my favorites. So first thing I did is I just chose my layout. What I did is just grab a pencil and lightly mark a letter on each piece. You don't have to do it for one section because you can just look at the section that you marked for reference. All I do is just put a little letter on there indicating which paint or stain I'm putting on it. Ugh, gotta drink some motivation. Let's do this. And then when you're staining, just make sure you're taking your time, keeping these evenly spaced out. I mean, this stuff isn't rocket science. Whew. All right, I think you guys get the point. All right, so I got all my pieces all painted. I'm just doing a little bit of touch-ups, just making sure everything's all good and covered and everything. But once I'm done with this touch-up, then I got a few hours to let this dry. I can go grab another beer and I'll see you in a little bit.
A few moments later.
All right, it's dry. Let's glue it down. So I got a little bit of glue for this project. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing, so we might just have to...
We're winging it, Jerry.
So I still got my board marked out in sections here. So pretty much I'm just gonna glue up this one side and then just transfer all these little bitty pieces onto my glued side. Hopefully try and clamp it down somehow and then repeat the process on that side. So I guess wish me luck.
Good luck.
Oh, that was a lot. See, that's too much. Should probably be using a brush or something for this. Oh, I gotta hurry up before this sets. So luckily I can still see my lines here, so I'm just gonna match up my stuff with that. And hopefully it fits. So I guess one issue I can kind of let you guys in on is I didn't think I put much glue on here, but my joints are actually, not to brag, so good that even with this small amount of glue that I got on here, it is kind of coming up through the cracks a little bit, so maybe not a crazy amount of glue. Ooh, that was actually a lot of work. Okay, so we got it all glued down here. Just gotta make sure it's all lined up and everything. So I actually have done something like this before. I made a pretty cool mountain scenery art thing. If you think this is cool, then you'll definitely think that's cool too. So go ahead and check out that video because it was pretty simple, just like this. But in that video, I used a nail gun to actually secure these pieces down. Since I have a lot of stained pieces, I don't want to do that. If you're using a nail gun on painted wood, you can always come back and then just kind of paint over that and make sure that it's covered up. But with stained pieces, you can't really do that. So I don't want to put any nail holes on top of this thing. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just put some boards on top. This is going to make sure that my pieces are nice and secure against that plywood on the back. And that glue is actually going to hold on a lot better than those nails ever would. Okay, so we got this thing drying. It's been about 24 hours, so we should all be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and remove our paint cans. And just make sure everything's glued down. Hey, we did it! So obviously now you can see that our edges are definitely not flush. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is flip this around. And if we did a good job setting this wood on top, we should just be able to follow that plywood line on the back. That'll give us a nice straight cut right where we wanted it. And then I'll be able to finish it off on the table saw, just to make sure it's all squared up. All right, so we're getting in the home stretch. We got our piece all squared up and it's nice and flush with our backer. So if you wanna take the easy road out, I guess you could be done, but there is a problem with the edge here. I don't like the idea of that showing, so what I'm gonna do is actually just build a frame around it real quick. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is just measure the side profile of what I'm working with, and then just grab more of these trim pieces and then just cut it down on the table saw to that same length. And from here, we're just gonna chop these up into our frame. For stuff like this where you don't have to be too critical, here's what I like to do. Start by cutting a 45 just on one side. Bring it over to your piece, line the 45 up on one side, just mark the other side real quick with a pen, bring it back to the chop saw, and make that cut. And that's how you get a perfect cut on both sides.
Wow.
So our frame is looking really good. Not too bad for a drunk carpenter, huh? So I always like to glue these together in place. That way I can make sure that it fits and it all looks good. It's nice and tight. But what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and throw a little bit of glue on here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and use my little pin nailer. Well, I think this is actually an 18 gauge, but if you got a pin nailer, that would actually probably be better. And we're just gonna fasten these up. And make sure when you're fastening it, you're not actually fastening it to our project, because I'm gonna wanna stain this, so we're gonna wanna be able to take this out. And you can't do that if you fastened it to your project. What stain should I use? So I just grabbed my early American stain because I like it so much. And nothing special, just gonna stain the frame. I just fucked that up so bad. I cannot believe I just did that. I was really dumb. If you missed it, I just flicked stain all over my project. All over the white paint. Oh yeah, so it wouldn't be a realistic channel if I didn't show some mistakes, huh? Well, don't worry, because I do plenty. Well, unfortunately, that's just what it is working in a small shop. I just still can't believe I did that. But I got it wiped off pretty much right away. The only thing I can see is that it did stain the white paint a little bit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab the white paint again and then just very carefully just kind of paint over that. I'm really confident that I'm gonna be able to fix this, so. Okay, so I fixed it. Looks like it never happened. So my frame's nice and dry. We're gonna go ahead and, since I installed it around the thing already, I'm gonna know that it's gonna be a perfect fit. Look at that. And then all we're gonna do next is grab this nail gun. Probably actually use a little bit bigger gauge if you want. I'm just sticking with 18. We're gonna nail it into the side of our project to make sure it stays. All right, so we are finally done with our wall art project. Again, this was super easy, super fun. A really good 6-pack project. I hope you guys follow along and learn something. And hey, if you didn't like this style, there are thousands of different others that you can try yourself. So until next time, grab a beer and build something.